Hi, I'm Alvina Ling,
And I'm Grace Lin.
and we're book friends.
Forever!
We're childhood friends,
Who grew up to be
a children's book editor.
and an author and illustrator. Yay!
Welcome to Book Friends Forever. This is the Two Topics, Travel and Scams episode.
And check out our website, bookfriendsforever.com, and our Instagram and YouTube channel at bookfriendsforever_podcast.
So, Grace, I could see a different background on the YouTube if you're watching on YouTube. I think you're in Maine, but how have you been?
Good. I am in Maine. We're leaving today. In fact, we have to right after we stop recording. I've got to clean up this VRBO, and get out of here. But yes, I'm in Maine. I'm still in my pajamas. And
I know we're recording this at 8 a.m.
I know it's been a really great time. We came here on Monday and we're leaving on Friday. So it's a short vacation, but honestly, it was good. I've basically been a blob for all these days.
That's
I've not
good.
exercised, completely slept in, like done no work. Like I'm a little worried about all the stuff that I've kind of just like it doesn't exist. And then I'm like, oh boy, because the problem when you're a freelancer, you work for yourself, is like if you pretend it doesn't exist, it's not like somebody else picks up the slack for you. It's like, oh. Okay, I'll have to pay for that later. So I have to deal with that when I get back. But it's been a really great time out here. We went to go see the trolls, which was my thing. So the way we did it was that like we came out here and each one of us chose one thing that we wanted to do. And I really wanted to go see the trolls. People might have seen those. I posted them on
I
social
know,
media.
these look so cool.
Yeah, they're awesome. So and now I kind of want to go see all the other trolls in the country and in the world. I know there's two in Rhode Island, but there's a bunch on the West Coast and all over the place. So I'm like, oh, maybe I'll just go travel all over the place to see these trolls.
That's
So
maybe
that
a more fun goal than your anti-gravity. I
I
mean, you
know
could do both.
the problem with the anti-gravity is hard to find them,
Mhm.
because they're not like a tourist thing. So it's like but whereas the trolls are very easy, there's like a map and everything. So maybe it's a more attainable, easy goal for somebody who's like not as adventurous as like we're not like super adventurous. We just like the idea of things. So maybe the trolls is a better goal, but there's a way more of them. Whereas the anti-gravity, there was only like 12. So so we saw the trolls, and then Alex chose going to this thing called the cryptid museum. I can't remember.
Mm.
I thought it was like cryptocurrency. I was like, we're gonna see cryptocurrency. He's like, no, no, no. It's like
Like monsters,
yeah, like
kind of.
monsters. So it was mainly the Sasquatch, but there's other monsters there too, like Nessie and like all these other obscure monsters and things like that. So
Sasquatch used to be your nickname for him.
it still is. So,
Okay.
so we took a lot of weird photos at the It's not the Sasquatch Museum, but we saw that. And then yesterday we went kayaking, which was Hazel's choice.
Oh,
Though I don't think she realized it was going to be so long of a kayak. It was like a two and a
was it a
half.
tour or
Yeah,
a,
we did a tour.
yeah.
I think last time we were in Maine, we were on a lake and we just went kayaking by ourselves. It was just like, it was fun, 45 minutes. But this time we did a tour and it was out in the ocean and it
Oh,
was like
wow.
more, it
4
was,
hour tour.
yeah, it was a more intensive thing. And I think in about an hour, she's like, ugh. And I was in the double with her and I could kind of see that the moment when she gave up. And I was like a little help here.
How did she do on the hike? The troll
The
hike?
hike, the hike to see the trolls, even though it wasn't really that long. It was so paved. I thought it was like in the woods and like a real like
Like
rugged
actual
hike. It
hike.
was so not rugged. It
Okay.
was like in a garden, like people came
Oh,
on little shuttles and like it was like so easy. And so it was completely fine. And
mhm.
it was
But
so
was it actually
easy.
a 5 mile? walk or
It
no?
didn't feel like it at
Okay.
all. So I don't think it really was.
Hmm.
I think they probably overestimate to so people aren't
Hmm.
aren't like tired. I don't know. It did not feel long at all. It was like really, really easy and like almost everything was paved and like so I was like, this is not a hike in the woods, but it was still really cool and really fun.
Nice.
How
Huh.
about you? How have you been?
Well, I guess I've since we last recorded, I've been recovering from vacation. Because even though it was a great vacation, I mean, we've talked about it. I mean, and it really, it wasn't a trip. I feel like you always say, "Oh, it's a trip" when it's really scheduled, and it was kind of a combination of trip vacation because, we were just mostly in a house and relaxing. But I think it's because we're with so many different people. It was much more intense. It wasn't,
Mhm.
I guess, that relaxing. So I felt like I was recovering from my vacation. I was hoping to edit last weekend and I did a little bit and just kind of lost steam. And I'm like, you know what? I think I just need a weekend to like not do much. So, Steven and I binged a reality show, of course, Perfect Match, and there's a new documentary on The Biggest Loser. I don't know if you ever watched that TV show.
No, but I've
Which,
heard
yeah,
I've listened to a lot of like science on metabolism that kind of dissect that show.
right. Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of backlash against it, which is why it went off the air, even though it was still really popular and successful as a show, when they canceled it. Because, I think all these former contestants gained all the weight back or more, and their metabolism was wrecked. And
Yeah, it
um,
basically ruined a lot of health.
yeah. And it was an interesting documentary. It wasn't the best. I guess it was pretty balanced in a way. It was just Yeah, I don't know. It's just funny how times change. And even though it was just, I don't even know how long ago. Like I feel like it went off the air less than 10 years ago, but we definitely not have that kind of reality show now. Like it feels like the Hunger Games a little bit, like
Mhm.
those kinds
Yeah,
of competition shows.
yeah.
Um, yeah, but I've been doing well. I've been, we had our monthly karaoke. That was really fun, and I've been meeting people, one-on-one. I had dinner with Connie recently, and so yeah, just just continuing my connections, trying to create community.
That's nice.
So like we did last week, we just had two topics and they're unrelated really, although, which is why we named we just thought if we're going to name this episode, travel and scams. And then we thought, will people think it's all about travel scams? Which it's not. But we wanted to talk about some recent, well, we want to talk about travel first because I think we've both been traveling recently. And one of the podcasts I listened to, no, not Planet Money, Slate Money podcast, they use this as like a bonus topic where they talked about whether or not travel broadens the mind and whether travel is transformative. And I just thought it was an interesting topic to think about. So I guess we will talk about that.
What did they say on the podcast?
They debated it. I mean, I think there are three people talking. One said, yes, of course, not always, but that basically said if you don't travel, then you are a little more limited. But then someone else argued and said, oh, you can have just as much transformation just reading books, which of course I agree with. I think reading books is traveling while not actually traveling. But I do think there's so many experiences you get from traveling that have the potential to broaden your mind or transform you, but I don't think it's a guarantee. And I think that was kind of the how that discussion went.
Yeah, I agree that it's definitely not a guarantee. It depends on how you travel and what you want, right? Like I
Right.
kind of feel like if you go on I don't know. I've never gone on a cruise, so like, but my impression is like if you go on a cruise, like maybe that's not as transformative. Like, I don't know.
Well, I do think, again, yes, it depends on the type of cruise because some of the cruises, so I think you could travel. I think you could travel and like just stay with your family
Yeah.
and not really interact too much. Like, I guess you are interacting with people naturally, but you can kind of not interact too much and kind of just stick with, like, for example, sometimes when I travel with my parents, they sometimes do tours with other Taiwanese
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
families. I feel like you're being ushered from place to place in
Hmm.
this group and by a tour guide. You're not really interacting with any locals.
Hmm.
You're seeing the sights, but you're not so
Yeah.
I feel like that kind of tour and that kind of travel, it can be transformative depending on what sights you see and if it has a strong impact on you, but it can also not be transformative at all, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if travel is, yeah, it's an
I mean,
interesting thing.
yeah. I mean,
I think
I
it just
guess,
depends on what kind of person you are too. Like if you're the
right.
kind of person that loves to like get completely, which I'm not, so I get completely like you learn the
Immersed.
language, you get immersed, you talk to all the locals and like and that kind of thing I admire, but I'm honestly too intimidated to do that kind of stuff. Like when like
Right.
dropping into a foreign country and do that. Like it's
Well,
very
and
uh,
yeah, and that's what they talked about too, is like the difference between travel and then also like living someplace, like
um
moving to a different country or living someplace new for like a month or more, and the difference there. And then they also talked about like US. I mean, there's so many different types of places just within the US that you can travel to and find that travel transformative as well, potentially.
Yeah, I guess that's what a good point. I don't think travel is transformative. I don't think travel or vacation, but I do think when I think about think place living when I lived in Rome, Italy, right? Like that was transformative, but it took me a good like 2 months to feel like get over the intimidation of
Hmm.
like being in the area. And then like it was only that third month that that I feel like I was able to like soak things in and it made a transformative effect on my life. But I think when you just like 5 days somewhere is not, I don't think is, I think it could be transformative in the relationships with your family that you go with.
Hmm.
Like, and that's a different kind of transformation, but I don't
Yeah.
think that's the kind that they're talking about.
Right. I also think it depends on what kind of life you are living when you're
Yeah.
home. I think if you, I don't know, let's say you're Amish and you are always living in your insular community and you don't ever see, I mean, I don't want to, I don't know. You could be any kind of person, not just Amish, but
Yeah.
and not have any kind of interaction with people outside of your, say, religion or community, then I do think meeting someone completely different and talking to them can be transformative. Um,
But I think that's the thing is like when you travel, you don't tend to like I don't know when I travel like here in Maine, like we don't really talk to that
Locals.
many
Yeah.
locals. I mean, we talk to the kayak tour guide, like but not really like it's not like we sit down and have a conversation with a
Yeah.
local, like sitting down at a restaurant.
Right. But even, well, so I've told this story before on the podcast, although a long time ago, but I had a friend, my friend Juliet, who I worked with at Barnes and Noble when I first moved to Boston. And, we were talking about diversity and how it feels to be a person of color or being, the minority. And she said, yo, I remember the first time, and she was traveling, I don't know, maybe it was in New York or some other city. She's from Vermont. Vermont is not that diverse. And I think she said she went into a McDonald's, and at a certain point, she realized that she was the only white person in the McDonald's, and it just gave her a little bit of oh, this is how it feels to be a minority. And and even though she knows she can leave the McDonald's and then be in the majority again, but I do think that that's very impactful, that feeling.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I guess when you live with that feeling all the time, like maybe it's good to have that like, oh, like
Yeah.
that.
And maybe for us, traveling to Asia, then all of a sudden we have that opposite feeling of, oh, I look exactly like
That's
everyone
true. I
here.
remember when I went to Hawaii, I felt that. Like I felt really, it was interesting. The place that I felt most at home at was Hawaii because with so many Asian people, and the big thing was that it was so many Asian American people, like
Hmm.
nobody expected me to speak Chinese or Taiwanese,
Right.
like, and they weren't mad at me that I couldn't speak the language. Like they were just like, oh, okay. Like they expected me to speak English.
Hmm.
They like being Asian was not a big deal, like it was. And I remember feeling like, oh, this is what it feels like to be comfortable in a population,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. And I think so I think I don't know if I've talked about this, but part of why Steve and I wanted to rent this house in Vermont and why we did that 2 years ago and wanted to bring the kids is that we wanted to broaden their horizons a little bit because of course, it was also like kind of pre or post pandemic where they really were. I mean, everyone was isolated and pretty much just stayed in their neighborhood. So even though, the older kids were they were all born in Manhattan and New York City, but then it was very quickly the pandemic and they're stuck in this like 2 bedroom apartment and stuck in their neighborhood. So then they moved to New Jersey, but then, so at least they can go outside, but they're still kind of just stuck in their very small circle. And so, and there wasn't a lot of travel. So we were like, okay, we want to introduce them to another part of the US and different experiences. And that was when Quinn was like, is this nature? And so I
oh.
do feel like
I do
that
think it could definitely broaden the mind,
yeah, but
definitely.
maybe not
And
necessarily be transformative. But we
yeah, but
did
I don't know.
wonder, like, oh, are any of these kids gonna end up when they grow up, decide, I want to go to college in Vermont because
Yeah.
we went there on vacations and, so yeah.
Well, yeah, they talk about that in that book Fluke, where like
Hmm.
the whole reason why I think we talked about this earlier, the whole reason why the bomb was not dropped on Kyoto was because uh, one of the fellows in charge had done a honeymoon in Kyoto and loved it so much. It's like, no, no, we can't drop the bomb there. And so just his vacation saved that city. So,
Hmm.
so who knows? Maybe, and I guess that is transformative.
Yeah.
But
Okay, what was your most transformative or, trip that brought into your horizon the most in your life?
so trip, see, not, I would say living in Rome, Italy for like, I was there for 5 months. That was definitely transformative, but I don't think that counts as a trip. Like I think
Hmm.
that's like, and I feel like I think I'm a slow transformer, like because it takes me such. I feel like for me to get the walls kind of down, like to soften up, I need to feel comfortable and then like let it in. Um, so that would be probably the most transformative. I think that there's lots of places that broadened my mind and made me interested in like kind of planted seeds for later. Like when we went to China, like all these
Hmm.
like oh interesting, like I don't think it was transformative at the moment, but they all planted seeds of like, huh, let me go look into that later, like and
Yeah.
all sorts of things like that. And like, going to Taiwan, going to Hong Kong, all these things. Like they're all like broadening, but not transformative. How about
Mhm.
you?
Yeah, I think like you living in Taiwan, like living in another country was the most transformative. Because yeah, it taught me so much about myself. It also made me realize I can do hard things and I can move to a place where I don't really know the language and a lot of things are unfamiliar. Um, in terms of just a trip, I mean, I I don't know. I do feel like well, okay, now I'm trying to think of like what trip was the least transformative. I think whenever I've gone places that I just found so beautiful, it's like just a little bit or a lot, transformative or broadening of the mind. Just, I mean, even, the Grand Canyon, like just to fathom that something is so vast and grand and, it kind of makes you feel small and insignificant or it just it makes you look at things in a different way and I do think that's how a travel broadens your minds is it makes you potentially can make you look at things differently.
Yeah, they talk about that like a sense of awe, right? Like if it
Hmm.
gives you a sense of awe, you can see something and it really makes you feel like you're, like a small speck in the great universe or something like that.
Right. And I do feel like almost
But you
all of
have to
my
be open to
travel.
that, right? So,
Yeah. And that all can happen in a museum, or it can happen in nature, or it can happen eating
but it can also happen
a
at home,
delicious
right?
meal. Yeah, for
It
sure.
can happen at home reading a book, as I said.
Exactly. I mean, I do think reading is so transformative, and
Yeah.
it really makes you empathetic, or easier. It makes it easier to be empathetic. There's I just did I'm doing, I talked about I'm doing I've done the morning pages for a while, and I've been doing Suleika Jawad's Book of Alchemy, and the prompt yesterday was by George Saunders, who is a author of mostly essays but also some fiction, and very respected. But his prompt is like, I feel like he did not understand the assignment, assignment, because it was not a morning pages type prompt. It was basically a writing class prompt. It was like, stage one, think of someone that, like a type of person that you dislike, but then write from their point of view. Stage two, write another person's point of
Oh.
view. Stage three, have them interact. I was like, I can't, this is not important. But I did the stage one as my more, I like, oh, I'll just do it in stages. And I think what I realized is like, oh, well, I think for some people this exercise might be transformative because they're putting themselves into the head of someone they don't like. But I
Yeah.
realized for me, it's like, oh, I feel like I do that all the time. And I think it's partially because I'm reading. And when you're reading books, you're reading for the point of view of the bad guy, or
Mhm.
the quote unquote bad guy. But um, yeah, so I realized, oh, reading a lot is the most
Yeah, yeah.
transformative thing, I think, because you're literally getting into heads of other people.
Hmm.
Whereas when you travel, yeah, you might just like look at other people or maybe talk to them. But it's all, yeah, it's going to be pretty superficial, I think.
Yeah, and you can still keep them as an other when you're talking to them, you know? So,
Yes, for sure. So anyway, all right. Um, so the second topic is, it's just because I think you saw Brian Floca's post, or is it because you got an email?
so what happened was I got this email that was so it was so flattering and so specific, right? And there was a million emojis and it was like, here, I'll just it's like and it was so, like I said, like over the top flattering in some ways. It's like, only you, Grace Lynn, could make a stone lion, a talking worm dragon, a portal to the spirit world, and a Zuchi kick sound like everyday life. The Gate, the Girl, and the Dragon isn't just folklore, it's high stakes, rich storytelling dressed in deluxe sprayed edges, because of course, even your editions are legendary. And she's like, I don't know if it's a she, but the person like, and here's the twist. Your book radiates timelessness, ancient lore, fierce friendships, and the art of balancing words. And yet the Amazon page feels a little quiet, like the kind of silence that happens just before a dragon sneezes fire. So like it's like this very specific and very like flowery thing, and it's like almost like, okay, like is this like a super fan, right? But there's something, it was just like a little off, right?
Yeah.
Even for a super fan, it was like really off, and I was like, I think this is then I sent it to like, because it seems off. I was like, there's something off on this. I sent it to my friends Jared Krasaska and Lisa Yee, and they're like, oh, this must be part of the AI scam that's going around. What's happening is scammers are getting AI to read books and then to write really specific like things. So to get you to pay them to pay for Amazon reviews. So and I was like, oh, yeah, that makes complete sense because there it just feels a little off. And then almost after that, Brian Floca posted a similar email he got that also was like, get your Amazon reviews. And then Adam Rex's, which was really, really close to mine. And then I guess Deborah Underwood posted on Facebook something similar. So it's this scam that's going on, and it's so hard because there's a part of you who's like, if this is a super fan, I don't want to be rude, like if you want to be like, thank you, but I luckily I just ignored it. But it's so interesting to see how they are targeting now. It's like really, honestly, it's really good. Like they because they
Yeah.
know the book. Usually in the past, these scams are just like, don't you want 3,000 Amazon reviews? And you're like, "Ma." Like, but now they're specifically targeting the author and their book. So it's it's very, very sly. And if you're not more media savvy, I can see how it might take you back. You'd be like, oh my gosh, this person's so excited about my book and like they really want to help me and then like go for it, you know? But
Well, and
it's
I do. Okay,
bad.
so I think what's funny about Brian, so Brian Floca posted this on Instagram and he didn't respond. And then the person sent a follow-up email. Did you get a follow-up
Oh,
email? So
I
his,
did not get a follow.
so the follow-up email, so it was like, the email was similar to yours, like Island Storm has everything going for it.
Yeah.
Caldecott medalist Brian Floca, blah, blah, blah. So I guess he didn't respond. And then the person followed up and said, you should have appreciated someone taking the time to research your book and reach out, but instead you ignored the message. Meanwhile, your masterpiece sits lifeless on Amazon, collecting dust, while other authors are climbing bestseller lists and winning awards left and right. And this is okay. You poured your heart, soul, and months, maybe years into writing this book, yet you won't invest a single dime to give it the audience it deserves? That's not being an author that's hoarding your own work like a miser, letting it rot unread. Oh, that's being an author. Oh, that's not being an author. That's hoarding. This is not, that's hoarding your own work like a miser, letting it rot unread. Congratulations, you've basically written a book for yourself, not for the people who could have loved it, shared it, and made it unforgettable.
I know that's so mean.
It's so
But see,
dramatic.
it's so dramatic. Yeah, that's what it is. It's so both of them are so
Yeah.
dramatic. And so, but like for me, like if you're not quite sure that's an AI bot, like a person using AI, you are like, oh, I hurt someone's feelings. Oh no, a super, like somebody who
Right.
really loved my work. Like
But it's
it's
funny because also like that is not it's not being so okay, is it a scam or is it a business using AI to market,
uh,
right? Because I'm assuming, well, I don't know. I have no idea. But they are apparently trying to market a service of posting Amazon reviews, I guess.
I guess, but it's fake Amazon reviews, right? So,
Right. It is fake. Yes. Oh, so it's kind of like
so,
how people buy followers. So you actually
yeah.
are getting the followers, and maybe they're bots, and maybe they do, but maybe they engage as bots engage. I don't know. But this would not obviously make me want to use their so it's basically bullying you, right? They're like
Yeah.
bullying you and making fun of you
I know. Well, the
to get
second
you.
one is pretty bad. But let me see if I have Adam Rex's because he also posted one that was like almost like very very similar to mine. And but it's interesting because it's so it pray what's interesting is that I read, I think it was Jennifer Lauren who read, like the p reason why authors are like getting the red flag is because the writer is just a little too enthusiastic about their work. It's like a good review, like
Right.
the glowing review is just a little too positive, and they're like, this seems off. Like good reviews is what flags us.
Yeah. I mean,
No one can love my work that much.
I do worry about these scams getting better and better because of AI.
Yeah.
I mean, this is not necessarily evidence of AI or getting better, but you'd suggested this topic, and I said, oh, my friend's mother just got scammed out of $10,000.
Mm.
And it was one of those calls, so she got a call. And although I think maybe they are using AI to get the information maybe from the dark web, because so she believed it was someone from the government because they knew all of her bank accounts and balances.
Oh, wow.
And so she believed them, but it involved, the person on the phone said, go and withdraw this much money and from different
Well, do you remember a
banks.
couple of years back, I almost got scammed too
Yeah.
from the
Yeah.
bank. That was during COVID
Hmm.
because they because of COVID time I don't know, they had a weird thing with the bank and I almost got scammed and I was super lucky that I caught it right after and was able to stop it. Like,
Right.
but their scammers are really good. Now I don't answer the phone. Just don't answer
No, I
the
don't. And so my friend was telling her mom, like, why did you answer the phone? Like,
phone.
don't answer the phone. But it does say actually, and so right at because I would brunch with with two friends, and my friend Evelyn told us this happened. And then the next day, the other friend Maya said, oh my gosh, like I picked up a call because I thought it was from Chase, because
Yeah.
they can,
Yeah, that's
they
well, that's how I got
Mhm.
scammed was because because it was COVID, when you need to do something with your bank, you couldn't just walk in, you had to like make an appointment and they'd call you back. And so it said, Florence Bank, and I was like, "Oh," and then
Yeah, so she realized she said afterwards she finally hung up, but she's like, "Oh gosh, I stayed on the phone for a really long time because I really thought it was them." And then before I realized.
yeah.
So I don't know. All of you out there, be careful. And also, if you have elderly
Just don't answer the
friends
phone. If it's important, they'll leave a message.
and family, yeah. I mean, it's hard, the texting scams too,
Oh yeah.
So I get I get so many, right? A lot of them are political ones. A lot of them are, like you can make $50 an hour working from home, it's or
Yeah.
recruitment, like, oh, I'm calling you from this recruiting company. And
Oh yeah, I get that one. And I get ones where it's like you get your something about like get your crypto something like as if I had
right.
crypto coin
And then
already.
do you get the ones that are just like, hey, or hey,
Yeah,
it's been a
yeah.
while. Do you want to meet for coffee? I had one that were when I was in California, I had one that was almost text tempted to respond, even though I knew because it said, "Hey, what are your plans for tomorrow? I'm going to make hot pot and chili crab." And I thought, that sounds really good. But I don't know you. Um, yeah, there's been some articles. There was one Slate article where they responded to one of the recruitment calls and they actually like it was a job, but then they never got paid.
Oh,
So it was one of those things where I can't remember, but they were maybe it was like something like listening to Spotify. It was
uh-huh,
like to get streams or something.
uh-huh,
And then they had them set up like a crypto wallet to get
uh-huh.
paid, but it was a scam in that you couldn't withdraw any money until it got to a certain amount. And then when he did try to withdraw, they said, "Oh no, you have to add $6 to it in order to withdraw."
Oh,
So he added $6, but they still couldn't, so he didn't end up spending a ton of money, but he did, like I guess that's how they get you is like you think, oh, if I just spend $5, I can get 500 back, and then
yeah,
you can never do it.
yeah.
But it's so elaborate. It's
Yeah,
so
they're so elaborate and
interesting.
they're so good. Like they're very sly and tricky. It's so hard to navigate and to keep yourself free of them, I think.
Right. And I can see, the ones that I found really convincing for some reason, I don't know why, is the texts that say it's from Easy Pass and
Oh
that you
yeah.
have a balance.
Yeah,
And I
yeah, yeah,
think
yeah.
part of it is because I don't know, something of how it's worded felt
Yeah.
convincing to me. And also they're only asking for like $16 or, it's
Yeah.
relatively low amounts. And I think that's how they get people.
Yeah.
And even they're convincing to me, even though I don't have a car. I don't have Easy Pass.
Yeah,
Which
I get
is
those too. And I'm always like, wait, what?
right, but
So,
it is really smart. I mean, that you get the ones that they say it's from the UPS or there you
yeah.
have a package or Amazon or
Yeah.
you know.
So, well, and I just want people to know if they have been scammed. My heart goes out to you. And I remember when I was almost scammed, part of the big thing that I felt really bad about was that I felt really dumb. Oh, people are gonna think I'm so stupid. They're so good at it. If you have been scammed, my heart goes out to you, and I don't think you're stupid.
No, I mean they're smart with how they do it.
Yeah,
There was that article that went around last year. Did you read it? And it's
no,
by a she is a financial advice columnist for The
okay,
Cut. And the
uh-huh.
headline is The Day I Put $50,000 in a shoebox and handed it to a stranger. I never thought I was the kind of person to fall for a scam.
Oh
So
wow,
it was just a very elaborate scam where they said, because they get you on the phone and they say, someone in your family, someone you trust is
uh-huh.
scamming you and so you can't tell anyone about
Uh-huh.
this because so that's how they get you to not tell
Uh-huh.
anyone because if as soon as if she had like told her husband, he would have been like, "Oh my God, that's a scam. Like, what are you
Uh,
doing?" But they kind of make you scared and paranoid.
uh,
But the story is pretty bizarre because it resulted in basically they said, "Yes, put this cash in a cardboard box and deliver it." Like, but they convinced her somehow that
that must have
that's
been a long con.
it was a
Like,
very yes.
because if it was a
And
short thing, get like that's a
no.
red flag. But like,
Yeah, and I do feel like yes, any because I feel like sometimes I could see it being, I mean, for yours, the scam for you, I could see a lot of people falling for that, right? Because all it required was being on the phone.
yeah.
But like my friend's mother required her going around town withdrawing cash and then
Oh,
depositing into a weird crypto ATM.
oh,
Like for me, like that would have been the moment
yeah,
that
yeah,
even if I was believing it all, I think and sometimes these scams are, they can, we've had scams in our company where people are impersonating like our CEO or COO, and they're texting people saying, "Oh, pretending to be if I get a text from my CEO saying, "Oh, Alvina, like, are you busy right now?" I think I would be like, "Oh,
yeah,
but it ends with them asking you to go and buy a gift card from Target or something. Like to me, that would be the thing that
yeah.
would like snap me out of it. I'm like, "Oh, my CEO is not going to ask me to buy a Target gift card." Like that's just kind of ridiculous. But maybe another, like if you're an executive assistant and someone's
Yeah,
asking you to do that, I guess I could see.
yeah, I could see that.
Um, but yeah, there's
Only because
certain
I've watched The Devil Wears Prada.
right. You just never
It's
you
just like she's like, go get me a.
right. But it kind of makes me sad for, I used to remember when we were kids and when the phone rang, it was very exciting because you're like, who's
Yeah.
calling? It
And it
could
was
be
so
my
exciting and
friend,
happy,
could be
like,
my
oh,
crush, it could be, and now it's like, don't answer the phone. It's just,
yeah.
and even texts that seem like they're
Hmm.
kind of fun are from, like you can't get a text from a number you don't recognize and
Yeah.
wonder, oh, is this someone from my past who's like reaching out now? And
Yeah.
is it an old friend that I've lost touch with? Now it's just, no, it's a scam. Can't answer it.
Yeah. So sad.
Sigh.
Uh,
All right. So again, since we did two topics, we're gonna skip the fortune cookie segment, but
yes.
Tell me about. Tell me about.
let's
We're gonna do
do,
Tell Me About.
yes.
So, Alvina, please tell me about Invisible Parade.
Yes. So this is a book that's coming out. Well, by the time this episode launches, it'll be out. But right now we're recording this on Friday and it's coming out next Tuesday. So this is Invisible Parade. I'm showing in
Mhm.
the folded the F and Gs because I left my copies at the office. But this is a picture book debut from number one New York Times bestseller Leigh Bardugo and World Fantasy Award winner John Picacio. And it's a beautiful picture book. It's about Dia de los Muertos. Um, is it Dia de los Muertos or Dia de um, I should know this. It's just Dia de Muertos. And it's about a girl named Kala who is grieving the loss of her grandfather. But she is going, of course, on the Day of the Dead. You go and you celebrate, in graveyards. And so this is actually John's book and his baby. And he had come up with the idea. He's Mexican American. But he was friends with Leigh Bardugo. They had met at a conference a long time ago, and so he asked her if she would collaborate with him on this
Oh.
book.
Uh-huh.
And so they actually I think they were at a conference in LA, and they took a walk through a graveyard, as maybe some friends do, and then they kind of brainstormed and talked about this book. And I think that was in 2016 when they
Oh,
first
wow.
talked about the book.
Hmm.
I got this on submission in 2020. It was sent to me it was midnight of the Day of the Dead. So it was like um, October 31st, midnight, November
Hmm.
1st. Um, and I just immediately, was taken by the art. That's very so. This is his first picture book, but he does a lot of book covers for
Mhm.
fantasy. Mostly fantasy. So he's done like George R. R. Martin
Mhm.
covers, for example. And he's done comics. He started doing comics, when he first started his career, and yeah, it's really different from anything I've worked on. The art is really sophisticated. I'll show. It starts off, kind of more sepia toned, and it does get more colorful as it goes on. It involves the four horsemen, maybe of the apocalypse, and it has an incredible gatefold that I will show to our watchers um, of the Invisible Parade.
Ooh.
It's kind of hard to do,
I know
but
it's kind of hard
there
to
you
show,
go.
but it looks amazing.
So he has been working on this book for many, many, many years, because it's also 64 pages. When
Oh,
we
wow.
started, we tried to make it 48, but the story
Hmm.
was too long and he really wanted to expand it. And we're like, well, you're the one doing the art. So, but it just, he does graphite on paper, and it's
Uh-huh.
so detailed.
Yeah.
When I was at TLA 2 years ago, he lives in San Antonio, so I got to visit with him. He showed me the originals. I was just completely blown away. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, this is why it's taking you so long. I think we moved it out twice, so
Uh-huh.
it's coming out 2 years later than we thought it
Wow.
would. Um, but it definitely is worth the wait. But it's so detailed. So he does graphite on paper, and then he scans it in and colors it
Oh, okay.
in Photoshop. And so yeah, it's brilliant. So they are going on a tour. So by the time this airs, I don't know where they'll be actually, but they're going to be in New York on Monday. So we're going to have a little bit of an in-office celebration for that.
Nice.
So check it out, Invisible Parade by Leigh Bardugo and John Picacio.
Hooray.
Oh, I'll also mention the way he got Leigh on board is he told her it's the Wizard of Oz set in a graveyard. And she said, "Oh, that sounds cool."
Yeah, that does sound cool.
Um, all right. So now we'll end as we always do with what we're grateful for. Grace, what are you grateful for?
Let's see. I'm grateful for sleep because
Yay.
this because I've been such a I haven't exercised at all here, and I've also usually I wake up like 5 in the morning and I go to my workout and I try to run or something. I haven't done any exercise, right? I decided just to let it go. So I've like been sleeping in to like 7 or 8, and it
Nice.
feels really good. Like in some ways it doesn't feel good because I can tell when you don't exercise for a little while you start feeling like bleh. But it is, but on the flip side, it feels really nice to like sleep so long.
hmm
Um,
Well, but when you're doing natural exercises like kayaking or
that's
you're being
true.
active, I would,
Kind of, not really
Okay.
that active, but I think I need to change out of I've been using my Fitbit forever and it's getting me angry.
Okay. Why?
Because they've done something in the last year where they like it says like your cardio, like something called cardio load, and it keeps saying like your cardio load is not enough. And like so it only like so I can do 2 hours of kayaking and it still says you have not exercised today, like your cardio load is low and you need to work out. And
Oh.
it's always like berating me. And I'm like, you're like, shut up. Leave me alone. I just kayaked for 2 hours and you're telling me I didn't do enough exercise.
That's talking about AI. So everyone talks about how AI has been trained to be very polite and
Yeah.
encouraging. And I feel like my Aura ring
Uh,
is very encouraging, which
uh,
is nice because even if I only sleep 5 hours, it'll say like, you only got 5 hours of sleep, but don't worry. It's normal to have, and for activity, it'll say like, oh, like it's a very encouraging app. So you could switch to the Aura ring and it'll be encouraging and not berating.
it's not exactly berating, but I feel
You
berated.
feel they're criticizing you.
Like,
You could do
geez.
more. It's like that second follow-up email for Brian Floca. Like,
I know.
Like, oh, you're
So yes,
just,
so I'm
yes.
grateful for sleep and I'm grateful for this time with my family that we're able to get together and do some fun things, especially right before school starts. So that is what I'm
Yay.
grateful for. How about you?
Well, I was on vacation and then, but I feel like when I came back, a lot of other people went on vacation, and definitely next week, a lot of people are on vacation, including my boss and other like two other editorial directors. And so while that might mean I might have to take on, I'm covering some things, I think it's going to mean it's going to be a quiet office, which I'm excited for because, while I was on vacation, my email inbox ballooned over 1,000, and I've gotten it back under towards 800, and I want to get it down even lower. And so I guess this is a preemptive grateful. I mean, this week was also a little bit quiet, so I feel like I was able to, kind of get on top of some things. So I'm grateful for just a little period of slowness until before Labor Day, which I think everything's going to explode and
Yeah,
get busy again.
I'm looking at my calendar. I'm like, whoa, when did the fall get so busy? But it
Yeah.
did. So,
Yeah, I know. I have, yeah, just looking ahead, I'm like, oh, I had signed up for, well, a half marathon at the beginning of October, and I haven't really
mhm,
started training. And then I'm doing a SCBWI conference in Colorado also in October. And I thought, oh, it's so far from
you
now, and I
know,
have plenty of time. And now I'm like, oh no,
I know.
it's coming up. I better prepare. So anyway,
Ugh,
so I'm grateful for now.
yes.
All right, and that was the two topics, travel and scams episode. Thanks for joining us, and thanks to Alex at Paceyworks Studio for editing this podcast. Please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts and tell a friend about it.
And tag us on social media using the hashtag BookFriendsForever or send us a message via Instagram at BookFriendsForever_podcast or via our website, BookFriendsForever.com. And please join our Patreon. The link is in the show notes. When we completely failed of doing something for that
I
this
know.
summer,
You know what?
and I
And I
don't
should I should look to
foresee.
see. We should thank some patrons
Yeah,
if they're new ones.
yeah. Like and I
Thanks for
don't see
sticking
us
with
doing
us.
something about it in the fall because my fall just got packed. Um, So maybe in the winter we'll do something.
Okay.
The new year.
Yes. Anyway, I'm Alvina Ling. You can find me at Planet Alvina on TikTok and at Alvina Ling on Instagram, Blue Sky, and Threads.
And I'm Grace Lynn, and you can find me at Pacey Lynn on Instagram and Threads, and author Grace Lynn on Facebook and Blue Sky.
Have a great week.
And don't forget to read.